Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel. If you're new, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you subscribe. For those who are my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Now, since I have gotten back into making edited videos, I will bring back comment of the week. And I actually do have a comment of the week. Uh, It is from The Flood Never Happened. And today's comment of the week goes to Selena Felicity White. And she says, fun fact, nowhere in the Bible does it say that the people in Noah's flood myth were offered the chance to repent. Furthermore, why didn't Yahweh keep his word to Adam and Eve? That is, why didn't they die the day they ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil? Then create a new couple. Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Actually, two interesting points. So, yeah, uh, um, it, uh, that video, I clipped out a part of John's video where John said that um, it took over 100 years to build the ark in which people could repent and come on with Noah. And that is a good point. It does not say anywhere that people had the opportunity to repent. So, again, they're adding to the Bible. Shouldn't do that. God will get mad at you. Of course, I don't believe that because I don't believe in your God. But you do believe that. Huh. Maybe you guys aren't such biblical literalists after all, huh? But anyway, I've pointed that out before. And yeah, um, God didn't kill Adam and Eve when they ate from the tree, did he? Nope. In fact, he lived somewhere around 930 years if you take the Bible's word for it, which you shouldn't because it's just mythology. But anyway, so yeah, God lied at the very beginning. Imagine that. Okay, so now we're going to go into the main event, which is making fun of the Bible. So, are you ready to go? Me too. So, let's go. Okay, this is a disgusting passage. Well, I mean, we're talking about the Bible, so. But this is a more disgusting passage than usual. Okay, so starting in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. Okay, so I don't know how factual this is that in the spring the kings went off to war. I'm not exactly sure how factual that is. Um, I'd say it has more of a chance of being factual than not um, at the time this was written, just because, people could call whoever wrote this out on not being factual. On the other hand, if the people understood that it was just mythology, that's another topic. But anyway, moving on. Verse 2. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. Now she was purifying herself from her monthly uncleanness. Why did they even put that there? Come on. That's disgusting. I told you this was disgusting more than usual, and actually it gets more disgusting than this. And why is it called a monthly uncleanness? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, moving on. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David saying, "I am pregnant." So David sent this word to Joab, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent him to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked him how Joab was, how the soldiers were, and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house and wash your feet." So Uriah left the palace, and a gift from the king was sent after him. I have no idea what this is about. It could be some kind of ritual, but I'm not sure. But Uriah slept at the entrance to the palace with all his master's servants and did not go down to his house. David was told Uriah did not go home. So he asked Uriah, "Haven't you just come from a military campaign? Why didn't you go home?" Uriah said to David, "The ark and Israel," talking about the Ark of the Covenant, "and Israel and Judah are staying in tents, and my commander Joab and my Lord's men are camped in the open country. How could I go to my house to eat and drink and make love to my wife? As surely as you live, I will not do such a thing." Then David said to him, "Stay here one more day, and tomorrow I will send you back." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. So at David's invitation, he ate and drank with him, and David made him drunk. But in the evening, Uriah went out to sleep on his mat among his master's servants. He did not go home. Damn, David. Why don't you just command him to go sleep with his wife, goddammit? You're the king. Verse 14. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it, he wrote, "Put Uriah out in front where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw him, so he will be struck down and die." Jesus, David. Okay, okay. So this is another disgusting part about this story. Okay. So David sleeps with that dude's wife, right? And he gets her pregnant. And he brings that dude home from war, right? And he says, "You know, you really should go home. You're tired. Just go on home, you know?" And Joab's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sleep out here, you know?" And so then David tries to get him drunk, right? Which he succeeds in doing, according to the story. But again, Uriah doesn't go home. David's trying to make Uriah think that he impregnated Bathsheba, right? Well, I mean, that's not going to work because obviously Uriah hasn't slept with her. So, so then David is just going to kill him? Like, how is that going to solve anything? Two wrongs don't make a right. And also, if you remember correctly, God rejected Saul from being king just because he made a sacrifice when he was supposed to wait for Samuel to make a sacrifice. But then God doesn't reject David to be king because David did a much more severe thing. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Don't fuck with God's sacrifices. Okay, moving on. Verse 16. Hang on. Verse 16. So while Joab had the city under siege, this is the city of Ammon, remember, he put Uriah at a place where he knew the strongest defenders were. When the men of the city came out and fought against Joab, some of the men in David's army fell. Moreover, Uriah the Hittite died. Joab sent David a full account of the battle. He instructed the messenger, "When you have finished giving the king this account of the battle, the king's anger may flare up, and he may ask you, 'Why did you get so close to the city to fight? Didn't you know they would shoot arrows from the wall? Who killed Abimelech, son of Jerubbaal? Didn't a woman drop an upper millstone on him from the wall so that he died in Thebes? Why did you get so close to the wall? If he asks you this, then say to him, Moreover, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead." Okay, this whole thing about getting close to the wall, I, I don't understand any of that, whatever. But then Joab goes on to say, you know, because he knows that David wanted Uriah dead, right? I mean, he knows that. So Joab's like, if David gets angry, tell him Uriah the Hittite died, and that'll make everything go away. What a disgusting piece of shit. And this is supposed to be a righteous dude. Ay, 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 ay. All right, moving on, verse 22. The messenger set out, and when he arrived, he told David everything Joab had sent him to say. The messenger said to David, "The men overpowered us and came against us in the open, but we drove them back to the entrance of the city gate. Then the archers shot arrows at your servants from the walls, and some of the king's men died. Moreover, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead." Okay. Yeah, disgusting. Like, didn't anyone figure out by now? Like, okay. So, Joab, I understand why Joab did what he did, right? Heads would roll if Joab didn't do what he was told, right? But didn't the messengers say, "Hey, something's up here"? What the fuck? Moving on. Verse 25. David told the messenger, "Say this to Joab. Don't let this upset you." Well, of course, because David wanted it to happen. Oh, he means about the other men. Okay. Whatever. Say this to Joab. Don't let this upset you. The sword devours one as well as another. Press the attack against the city and destroy it. Say this to encourage Joab. Oh my fucking God. This isn't even the worst of it, people. This is not even the worst of it. When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. Well, of course. After the time of mourning was over, David had her brought to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. All right, chapter 12. The Lord sent Nathan to David. When he came to him, he said, "There were two men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb he had bought. He raised it, and it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drank from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took the ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, "As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over, because he did such a thing and had no pity." What is wrong with these people? Seriously. Hey, Hans. Seriously, what is wrong with these people? You The king wants someone to die because he stole a lamb. Okay, well, yeah, stealing's bad, but you don't fucking die for it. Yeah, I know, right, Hans? All right, moving on. And it gets worse. It gets worse. Verse 7. Then Nathan said to David, duh. Sorry about that. I got Daniel on the brain. "You are this man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave your master's house to you, and your master's wives into your arms. I gave you all Israel and Judah, and if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing what is evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now, therefore, the sword will never depart from your house, because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own." Oh my fucking God. Can this get any more horrible? Yes, it can, unfortunately. Verse 11. This is what the Lord says. Out of your own household, I am going to bring calamity on you. Before your very eyes, I will take your wives and give them to one who is close to you, and he will sleep with your wives in broad daylight. You did it in secret, but I will do this thing in broad daylight before all of Israel. Yep. All right. And it gets even worse. It gets even worse. How much worse? Let's find out. Then David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. Well, duh. Nathan replied, The Lord has taken away your sin. You are not going to die. But because by doing this you have shown utter contempt for the Lord, the son born to you will die. What the fuck, God? What did that baby ever do to you? If you wanted, if you want your blood, which obviously you do, then kill fucking David, because David's the one who fucked up to begin with. Why are you killing an innocent little child? Hi, Marianne. Why are you fucking going to kill a newborn baby when you're mad at David? Come on. And it gets worse because this is the Bible. Verse 15. After Nathan had gone home, the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife had borne to David, and he became ill. David pleaded with God for the child. He fasted and spent the nights lying in sackcloth on the ground. The elders of his household stood beside him to get him up from the ground, but he refused, and he would not eat any food with them. On the seventh day, the child died. David's attendants were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they thought, while the child was still living, he wouldn't listen to us when we spoke to him. How can we now tell him the child is dead? He may do something desperate. David noticed his attendants were whispering among themselves, and he realized the child was dead. Is the child dead? He asked. Yes, they replied. He is dead. Then David got up from the ground. After he had washed, put on lotions, and changed his clothes, he went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he went to his own house, and at his request, they served him food, and he ate. How much more fucked up can you get? Honestly, how much more fucked up can you get? The kid is sick, right? So when the kid is sick, David's making this big old ass drama about, you know, not wanting anything to eat, not wanting anything to drink, just sackcloth and ashes and all that shit, right? And then the child dies, and David notices there's something wrong with the servants, and David says, has the child died? And the servants say, yeah, the child died. And then when you're supposed to be mourning your goddamn newborn son, instead, he gets up, he washes himself, and he has something to eat. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Moving on. Verse 21. His attendants asked him, why are you acting this way? While the child was alive, you fasted and wept, but now that the child is dead, you get up and eat. Exactly. Thank you. Somebody in this story has some fucking sense. Verse 22, he answered, while the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. I thought, who knows? The Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. Well, yeah, David, that's actually a pretty good bet because God's changed his mind before, but I guess God loves his babies, right? So, anyway, verse 23, but now that he is dead, why should I go on fasting? Because you are mourning the loss of your child, you fucking idiot. Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me. Oh my fucking God. And it gets worse. This isn't the worst part of it. Verse 24, then David comforted his wife Bathsheba, and he went to her and made love to her. Well, yeah, of course, because, wow, I mean, best way to cheer up your wife after she just lost a fucking child is, to have sex with her. She gave birth to a son, and they named him Solomon. The Lord loved him, and because the Lord loved him, he sent word through Nathan the prophet to name him Jedediah. Oh my God. Meanwhile, Joab fought against Rabbah of the Ammonites and captured the royal citadel. Joab then sent messengers to David, saying, I have fought against Rabbah and taken its water supply. Now muster the rest of the troops and besiege the city and capture it. Otherwise, I will take the city and it will be named after me. So David mustered the entire army and went to Rabbah and attacked and captured it. David took the crown from their king's head, and it was placed on his own head. It weighed a talent of gold, and it was set with precious stones. David took a great quantity of plunder from the city and brought out the people who were there, consigning them to labor with saws and with iron, picks, and axes, and he made them work at brick making. David did all this to the Ammonite towns. Then he and his entire army returned to Jerusalem. Chapter 13. This is where it gets really disgusting. You think it's been disgusting before? Now, this is where it gets really disgusting. You might want to get your facepalm gear ready. And you might want to get a vodka for this one. In the course of time, Amnon, son of David, fell in love with Tamar, the beautiful sister of Absalom, son of David. Okay, so basically Tamar is Amnon's half-sister. Okay? Just in case that wasn't clear. Amnon became so obsessed with his sister Tamar that he made himself ill. She was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for him to do anything to her. Now Amnon had an advisor named Jonadab, son of Shemiah, David's brother. Jonadab was a very shrewd man. He asked Amnon, why do you, the king's son, look so haggard morning after morning? Won't you tell me? Amnon said to him, I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. Go to bed and pretend to be ill, Jonadab said. When your father comes to see you, say to him, I would like my sister Tamar to come and give me something to eat. Let her prepare the food in my sight so I may watch her and then eat from her hand. Yeah, because women are good for nothing but, sex and making fucking food. So, obviously. Verse 6. So Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. When the king came to see him, Amnon said to him, I would like my sister Tamar to come and make some special bread in my sight so I may eat from her hand. David sent word to Tamar at the palace, go to the house of your brother Amnon and prepare some food for him. So Tamar went to the house of her brother Amnon, who was lying down. She took some dough, kneaded it, made the bread in his sight, and baked it. Then she took the pan and served him the bread, but he refused to eat. Send everyone out of here, Amnon said. So everyone left him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, bring the food here into my bedroom so I may eat from your hand. And Tamar took the bread she had prepared and brought it to her brother Amnon in his bedroom. But when she took it to him to eat, he grabbed her and said, come to bed with me, my sister. No, my brother, she said, don't force me. Such a thing would not be done in Israel. Don't do this wicked thing. What about me? Where could I get rid of my disgrace? And what about you? You would be like one of the wicked fools in Israel. Please speak to the king. He will not keep me from being married to you. But he refused to listen to her, and since he was stronger than she, not going to say that word. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, get up and get out. No, she said to him. Sending me away would be a greater wrong than what you have already done to me. What the fuck is wrong with these people? I swear to God, I told you it was going to get worse. Told you it was going to get more disgusting. Yeah, Marianne, I don't know if you were in here when I was reading the story about Bathsheba and, you know, uh, what's his face? Uriah and David, you know, but, you know, God because what did Saul do? All he did was offer a fucking sacrifice to the Lord. And David comes in and does this shit, and God does nothing to David at all. Nothing. What he does is he kills his fucking newborn son who has done nothing wrong. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Moving on. But he refused to listen to her. His personal servant and said, "Get this woman out of my sight," and bolt the door after her. So his servant put her out and bolted the door after her. She was wearing an ornate robe, for this was the kind of garment the virgin daughters of the king wore. Tamar put ashes on her head and tore the ornate robe she was wearing. She put her hands on her head and went away, weeping aloud as she went. Her brother Absalom said to her, "Has that Amnon, your brother, been with you? Be quiet for now, my sister. He is your brother. Don't take this thing to heart." And Tamar lived in her brother Absalom's house, a desolate woman. Why? Oh my fucking God, you people are idiots. It wasn't her fault. Verse 21. When King David heard all this, he was furious, and Absalom never said a word to Amnon, either good or bad. He hated Amnon because he had disgraced his sister Tamar. Okay, it gets worse, people. Just fair warning. Verse 23. 2 years later, when Absalom's sheep shearers were at Bel Hazor, near the border of Ephraim, he invited all the king's sons to come there. Absalom went to the king and said, "Your servant has had shearers come. Will the king and his attendants please join me?" "No, my son," the king said, "all of us should not go. We would only be a burden to you." Although Absalom urged him, he still refused to go, but gave him his blessing. Then Absalom said, "If not, please let my brother Amnon come with us." The king asked him, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom urged him, so he sent with him Amnon and the rest of the king's sons. Absalom ordered his men, "Listen, when Amnon is in high spirits from drinking wine, and I said to you, 'Strike Amnon down,' then kill him. Don't be afraid. Haven't I given you this order? Be strong and brave." Okay, so Absalom's actually not in the right, okay? But he's not really in the wrong either, okay? Um, at least according to God's law. So, you know, of course, we all know how fucked up God's law is. Oh my God. Hi, Atlarky. Sorry, but you probably know it, you know. Oh my God. And we're only in Second Samuel, people. This book gets worse. It gets worse. We're only in 2 Samuel. Verse 29. So Absalom's men did to Amnon what Absalom had ordered. Then all the king's sons got up, mounted their mules, and fled. While they were on their way, the report came to David, Absalom has struck down all the king's sons, not one of them is left. I told you it got worse. What the fucking piece of shit is going on here? Absalom, if you've got a beef with Amnon, fine. I don't really give a shit. I mean, this is just a story, so, but don't kill everybody for God's sake. Oh, God. It's making me so fucking mad. Verse 31. The king stood up, tore his clothes, and lay down on the ground, and all his attendants stood by with their clothes torn. But Jonadab, son of Shemaiah, David's brother, said, My lord should not think that they killed all the princes. Only Amnon is dead. Thank you. Thank you. Jesus fucking Christ. This has been Absalom's express intention ever since the day Amnon bleeped his sister Tamar. My lord the king should not be concerned about the report that all the king's sons are dead. Only Amnon is dead. Meanwhile, Absalom had fled. Now the man standing watch looked up and saw many people on the road west of him coming down the side of the hill. The watchman went and told the king, I see men in the direction of Horonaim on the side of the hill. Jonadab said to the king, See, the king's sons have come. It has happened just as your servant said. As he finished speaking, the king's sons came in wailing loudly. The king, too, and all his attendants wept very bitterly. Absalom fled and went to Talmai, son of Ammihud, the king of Geshur. But King David mourned many days for his son. After Absalom fled and went to Geshur, he stayed there 3 years, and David longed to go to Absalom, for he was consoled concerning Amnon's death. What about this makes any goddamn fucking sense? Hey, Zebra, seriously, how does this make any goddamn sense? David's the one that pissed you off, God. Deal with fucking David. Don't fuck with his entire family. Jesus. Where? Uh, well, Tux is usually up in his nest over there. Sorry. I keep forgetting this thing is anyway. Um, Callie's over here, but she's not in the shot. Yeah, really limited. I mean, like, what the fuck, you know? No, I have 2 cats. and Tux is up in his nest, and Callie's here. She's just not in the shot. So, hey, Nevermore, and tell me about it, Nevermore. All right, moving on. And I know this is a bunch of fucked up shit to go through, but I wanted to get through David's family drama, like, all in one go, because I didn't feel like being upset another week. Not like this shit ain't going to upset me another week, but anyway, it's fine. Chapter 14. Joab, son of Zeruiah, knew that the king's heart longed for Absalom. So Joab sent someone to Tekoa and had a wise woman brought from there. Um, Witch. Wise woman means witch. Okay, that was in King James time, and this is actually made from the King James version. It's just like an updated. For us, it's just like updated, but it comes from the King James version. Okay, so wise woman was a white witch. And so anyway, so that's what a wise woman was. A wise woman was a white witch. Um, he said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning. Dress in mourning clothes and don't use any cosmetic lotions. Act like a woman who has spent many days grieving for the dead. Then go to the king and speak these words to him." And Joab put the words in her mouth. When the woman from Tekoa went to the king, she fell with her face to the ground to pay him honor, and she said, "Help me, your majesty." The king asked her, "What is troubling you?" She said, "I am a widow. My husband is dead. I, your servant, had 2 sons. They got into a fight with each other in the field, and no one was there to separate them. One struck down the other and killed him. Now the whole clan has risen up against your servant. They say, 'Hand over the one who struck his brother down, so that we may put him to death for the life of his brother whom he killed. Then we will get rid of the heir as well.' They would put out the only burning coal I have left, leaving my husband neither name nor descendant on the face of the earth." The king said to the woman, "Go home, and I will issue an order in your behalf." But the woman from Tekoa said to him, "Let my lord the king pardon me and my family, and let the king and his throne be without guilt." And the king replied, "If anyone says anything to you, bring them to me, and they will not bother you again." She said, "Then let the king invoke the Lord his God to prevent the avenger of blood from adding to the destruction, so that my son will not be destroyed. As surely as the Lord lives," he said, "not one hair of your son's head will fall to the ground." Then the woman said, "Let your servant speak a word to my lord the king." "Speak," he replied. The woman said, "Why then have you devised a thing like this against the people of God? When the king says this, does he not convict himself? For the king has not brought back his banished son. Like water spilled on the ground, which cannot be recovered, so we must die. But that is not what God desires. Rather, he devises ways so that a banished person does not remain banished." So if God doesn't want people to die, why does God make fucking people die? He has the goddamn power. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am so fucking sorry. I am so fucking sorry. I am just so fucking angry right now. And it's like all right, verse 15. "And now I have come to say this to my lord the king, because the people have made me afraid. Your servant thought, I will speak to the king, perhaps he will grant your servant's request. Perhaps the agreed to deliver his servant from the hand of the man who is trying to cut off both me and my son from God's inheritance. And now your servant said, May the word of my lord the king secure my inheritance, for the Lord the king is like an angel of God in discerning good and evil. May the Lord your God be with you. Then the king said to the woman, Don't keep from me the answer to what I am going to ask you. Let my lord the king speak, the woman said. The king asked, Isn't the hand of Joab with you in all of this? The woman answered, As surely as you live, my lord the king, no one can turn to the right or to the left from anything my lord the king says. Yes, it was your servant Joab who instructed me to do this and who put all these words into the mouth of your servant. Your servant Joab did this to change the present situation. My Lord has wisdom like that of an angel of God. He knows everything that happens in the land. Oh my fucking God. No, he doesn't. Verse 21. The king said to Joab, Very well, I will do it. Go, bring back the young man Absalom. Joab fell with his face to the ground to pay him honor, and he blessed the king. Joab said, Today your servant knows that he has found favor in your eyes, my lord the king, because the king has granted his servant's request. Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king said, He must go to his own house. He must not see my face. So Absalom went to his own house and did not see the face of the king. In all Israel there was not a man so highly praised for his handsome appearance as Absalom. From the top of his head to the sole of his foot there was no blemish in him. Whenever he cut the hair off his head, he used to cut his hair once a year because it became too heavy for him. He would weigh it, and its weight was 200 shekels by the royal standard. I have no fucking clue what that means. I have no clue what a shekel was. But it's not really important to me. I really don't fucking care. Okay, verse 27. 3 sons and a daughter were born to Absalom. His daughter's name was Tamar, and she became a beautiful woman. Absalom lived 2 years in Jerusalem without seeing the king's face. Then Absalom sent for Joab to order to send him to the king, but Joab refused to come to him. So he sent a second time, but he refused to come. Then he said to his servants, Look, Joab's field is next to mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. So Absalom's servants set the field on fire. What the fuck is wrong with these people? I know I keep saying it, okay? I know I keep saying it. But what the fuck is wrong with these people? Yeah, limited, but I'm not sure how much. That's what I meant. Thanks, Atlarky. I mean, I know I say what the fuck is wrong with these people all the time, but seriously, they think these are good stories. They thought that these were the best stories to convey. Oh my God. All right. Verse 31. Then Joab did go to Absalom's house, and he said to him, Why have your servants set my field on fire? Absalom said to Joab, Look, I sent word to you and said, Come here, so I can send you to the king to ask, Why have I come from Geshur? It would be better for me if I were still there. Now then, I want to see the king's face, and if I am guilty of anything, let him put me to death. Oh my God. I told you this was going to get worse. So Joab went to the king and told him this. Then the king summoned Absalom, and he came in and bowed down with his face to the ground before the king. And the king kissed Absalom. In the course, chapter 15. In the course of time, Absalom provided himself with a chariot and horses, and with 50 men to run ahead of him. He would get up early and stand by the side of the road leading to the city gate. Whenever anyone came with a complaint to be placed before the king for a decision, Absalom would call out to him, What town are you from? He would answer, Your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel. Then Absalom would say to him, Look, your claims are valid and proper, but there's no representative of the king to hear you. And Absalom would add, "If only I were appointed judge in the land, then everyone who has a complaint or case could come to me and I would see that they receive justice." Also, whenever anyone approached him to bow down before him, Absalom would reach out his hand, take hold of him, and kiss them. Absalom behaved in this way toward all the Israelites who came to the king asking for justice, and so he stole the hearts of the people of Israel. At the end of 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go to Hebron and fulfill the vow I made to the Lord. While your servant was living at Geshur in Aram, I made this vow." Oh, Aram is Syria, by the way, in case you didn't know that. I made this vow. If the Lord takes me back to Jerusalem, I will worship the Lord in Hebron. What sense does this make? If the Lord brings me back to Jerusalem, I'm not going to worship in Jerusalem. Like, because that would make sense. I'm going to worship in Hebron. The king said to him, "Go in peace." So he went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent secret messengers throughout the tribes of Israel. "As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpets, then say, 'Absalom is king in Hebron.'" 200 men from Jerusalem had accompanied Absalom. They had been invited as guests and went quite innocently, knowing nothing about the matter. While Absalom was offering sacrifices, he also sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, David's counselor, to come up from Gilo, his hometown. And so the conspiracy gained strength, and Absalom's following kept on increasing. A message came and told David, "The hearts of the people of Israel are with Absalom." And David said to all his officials who were with him in Jerusalem, "Come, we must flee, or none of us will escape from Absalom. We must leave immediately, or he will move quickly to overtake us and bring ruin on us and put the city to the sword." What about this makes any sense? The king's official answered him, "Your servants are ready to do whatever our lord the king chooses." The king set out with his entire household following him, but he left 10 concubines to take care of the palace. Oh, great. Don't leave your wives to take care of the palace, David. Leave your fucking concubines because you don't care about your fucking concubines, even though you boink them too. Jesus. This is so stupid. Verse 17. So the king set out with all the people following him, and they halted at the edge of the city. All his men marched past him, along with all the Kerethites and Pelethites, and all the 600 Gittites who had accompanied him from Gath marched before the king. The king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why should you come along with us? Go back and stay with King Absalom. You are a foreigner and exiled from your homeland. You came only yesterday, and today I shall make you a wanderer about with us. Then I do not know where I am going. Go back and take your people with you. May the Lord show you kindness and faithfulness." But Ittai replied to the king, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, wherever the lord the king may be, whether it means life or death, there will your servant be." David said to Ittai, "Go ahead, march on." So Ittai the Gittite, I love these names, marched on with all his men and the families that were with him. The whole countryside wept aloud as all the people passed by. The king also crossed the Kidron Valley, and all the people moved on toward the wilderness. Zadok was there too, and all the Levites who were with him were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. They set down the Ark of God, and Abiathar offered sacrifices until all the people had finished leaving the city. Excuse me, doesn't the Ark of God mean victory? David, for fuck's sake, if you have the Ark of God, it means you're going to gain the victory over Absalom according to your fucking book. So why don't you stay and fucking fight like a fucking man? Jesus. Does this make sense to anyone? Does this make sense to anyone? Am I the only one this isn't making sense for? All right, moving on. Then the king said to Zadok, "Take the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the Lord's eyes, he will bring me back and let me see it and his dwelling place again. But if he says, I am not pleased with you, then I am ready. Let him do to me whatever seems good to him." The king also said to Zadok the priest, "Do you understand? Go back to the city with my blessing. Take your son Ahimaaz with you, and also Abiathar's son Jonathan. You and Abiathar return with your 2 sons. I will wait at the fords in the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me." So Zadok and Abiathar took the ark of God back to Jerusalem and stayed there, but David continued up to the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went. His head was covered and he was barefoot. All the people with him covered their heads too and were weeping as they went up. Now David had been told, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. So David prayed, "Lord, turn Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness." Verse 32, when David arrived at the summit where people used to worship God, Hushai, the Archite, all right, whatever, dude. I'm so over this. Was there to meet him, his robe torn and dust on his head. David said to him, "If you go with me, you will be a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, Your Majesty, I will be your servant. I was your father's servant in the past, but now I will be your servant. Then you can help me by frustrating Ahithophel's advice. Won't the priests Zadok and Abiathar be there with you? Tell them anything you hear in the king's palace. Their 2 sons, Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, and Jonathan, son of Abiathar, are there with them. Send them to me with anything you hear." So Hushai, David's confidant, arrived at Jerusalem as Absalom was entering the city. Chapter 16. Almost there, people. Almost there. When David had gone a short distance beyond the summit, there was Ziba, the steward of Mephibosheth, Jesus, waiting to meet him. He had a string of donkeys saddled and loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 100 cakes of raisins, and 100 cakes of figs, and a skin of wine. Oh, all this food and only one skin of wine. Wow. What the fuck? The king asked Ziba, "Why have you brought these?" Ziba answered, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and fruit are for the men to eat, and the wine is to refresh those who become exhausted in the wilderness." The king then asked, "Where is your master's grandson?" Ziba said to him, "He is staying in Jerusalem because he thinks today the Israelites will restore me to my grandfather's kingdom." Then the king said to Ziba, "All that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours." "I humbly bow," Ziba said. "May I find favor in your eyes, my lord the king." What the fuck is going on here? Okay, all right, all right. So, so the steward of Mephibosheth's house, so not Mephibosheth, but the steward of Mephibosheth, whatever, steward of his house has come to David with all of these gifts, right? Like, Mephi didn't notice that. Anyway, moving on. Why do I expect this shit to make sense? Anyway, so Mephi doesn't notice, and Ziba goes to the king, and he says, "All this is yours." And the king says, "Great. Why didn't your master's son come with you?" And Ziba's like, "Oh, because he thinks Absalom's gonna restore him to the throne." He's like, "You know what? Fuck Mephi. I'm done with Mephi, even though he's Jonathan's son. Fuck Mephi. You're now Mephi. You get everything Mephi has." What? Verse 5, as King David approached Bahurim, a man from the same clan as Saul's family came out from there. His name was Shimei, son of Gera, and he cursed as he came out. He pelted David and all the king's officials with stones, though all the troops and the special guard were on David's right and left. As he cursed, Shimei said, get out, you murderer, you scoundrel. The Lord has repaid you for all the blood you shed in the household of Saul, in whose place you have reigned. The Lord has given the kingdom into the hands of your son Absalom. You have come to ruin because you are a murderer. We know that David is a murderer, you fuckwit. But what the fuck are you talking about? Verse 9. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over and cut off his head. But the king said, what does this have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? If he is cursing because the Lord said to him, curse David, who can ask, why do you do this? David then said to Abishai and all his officials, my son, my own flesh and blood, is trying to kill me. How much more then this Benjamite? Leave him alone. Let him curse, for the Lord has told him to. It may be that the Lord will look upon my misery and restore me to his covenant blessing instead of his curse today. So David and his men continued along the road while Shimei was going along the hillside opposite him, cursing as he went, throwing stones at him and showering him with dirt. The king and all the people with him arrived at their destination exhausted, and there he refreshed himself. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the men of Israel came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel was with them. Then Hushai the Archite, David's confidant, went to Absalom and said to him, long live the king, long live the king. Absalom said to Hushai, so this is the love you show your friend. If he's your friend, why didn't you go with him? Hushai said to Absalom, no, the one chosen by the Lord, by these people, and by all the men of Israel, his I will be, and I will remain with him. Furthermore, who should I serve? Should I not serve the son? Just as I served your father, so I will serve you. Absalom said to Ahithophel, give us your advice. What should we do? Ahithophel answered, sleep with your father's concubines, whom he left to take care of the palace. Because, of course, that's going to work. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself obnoxious to your father, and the hands of everyone with you will be more resolute. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and he slept with his father's concubines in the sight of Israel. How the fuck does this make any sense? Now, in those days, the advice Ahithophel gave was like that of one who inquires of God. That was how both David and Absalom regarded all of Ahithophel's advice. Last chapter, people. Last chapter. All right. Let's tap in. One more chapter. Chapter 17. Ahithophel said to Absalom, I would choose 12,000 men and set out tonight in pursuit of David. I would attack him while he is weary and weak. I would strike him with terror, and then all the people with him will flee. I would strike down only the king and bring all the people back to you. The death of the man you seek will mean the return of all. All the people will be unharmed. This plan seemed good to Absalom and to all the elders of Israel, but Absalom said, summon also Hushai the Archite, so we can hear what he has to say as well. When Hushai came to him, Absalom said, Ahithophel has given this advice. Should we do what he says? If not, give us your opinion. Hushai replied to Absalom, the advice Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. You know your father and his men. They are fighters, and as fierce as a wild bear robbed of her cubs. Besides, your father is an experienced fighter. He will not spend night with the troops. Even now he is hidden in a cave or some other place. If he should attack your troops first, whoever hears about it will say there has been a slaughter among the troops who follow Absalom. Then even the bravest soldier, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will melt in fear, for all Israel knows that your father is a fighter and that those with him are brave. So I advise you, let all Israel from Dan to Beersheba, as numerous as the sand on the seashore, be gathered to you, you yourself leading them into battle. Then we will attack him wherever he may be found, and we will fall on him As dew settles on the ground, neither he nor any of his men will be left alive. If he withdraws into a city, then all Israel will bring ropes to that city, and we will drag it down to the valley until not so much as a pebble is left. Absalom and all the men of Israel said the advice of Hushai the Archite is better than that of Ahithophel, for the Lord had determined to frustrate the good advice of Ahithophel in order to bring disaster on Absalom. Verse 15. Hushai took Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Ahithophel has advised Absalom and the elders of Israel to do such and such, but I have advised them to do so and so. Now send a message at once and tell David, do not spend the night at the forts in the wilderness. Cross over without fail, or the king and all the people with him will be swallowed up. Jonathan and Ahimaaz were staying on Rogel. A female servant was to go and inform them, and they were to go and tell King David, for they could not risk being seen entering the city. But a young man saw them and told Absalom. So the two of them left at once and went to the house of a man in Bahurim. He had a wall in his courtyard, and they climbed down into it. His wife took a covering and spread it out before the opening of the well and scattered grain over it. No one knew anything about it. When Absalom's men came to the woman at the house, they asked, where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan? The woman answered them, they crossed over the brook. The men searched but found no one, so they returned to Jerusalem. After they had gone, the two climbed out of the well and went to inform David. They said to him, set out and cross the river at once. Ahithophel has advised such and such against you. So David and all the people with him set out and crossed the Jordan. By daybreak, no one was left who had not crossed the Jordan. When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey and set out for his house in his hometown. He put his house in order, then hanged himself. So he died and was buried in his father's tomb. David went to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed the Jordan with all the men of Israel. Absalom had appointed Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Amasa was the son of Jether, an Ishmaelite who had married Abigail, the daughter of Nahash and sister of Zeruiah, the mother of Joab. The Israelites and Absalom camped in the land of Gilead. When David came to Mahanaim, Shobai, son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and Machir, son of Amiel from Lo-debar, and Barzillai, the Gileadite from Rogelim, brought bedding and bowls and articles of pottery. They also brought wheat and barley, flour, and roasted grain, beans and lentils, honey, curds, sheep, cheese from cows, milk for David and his people to eat. For they said, the people have become exhausted and hungry and thirsty in the wilderness. Okay, you can take your facepalm gear off. Oh my goodness. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And no, that is not a literal um plea to Jesus. What else do I need to say? I told you this was a fucking train wreck. Okay, so you might want to know why I had all of that in one go. And that is because, I just, I could not separate David's family drama. Okay, I just could. Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is like a soap opera. Seriously. Seriously. And this this absolute asinine book is supposed to be for children. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. You know what, Christians? If you want to keep people in your camp, and this is advice coming from a former Christian turned agnostic atheist. If you want to keep people in your camp, do not encourage them to read the Bible. Don't. It is the worst thing for Christianity. It's good for us, but it's the worst thing ever for Christianity. Because this is the goddamn fucking shit that goes on in the Bible. This is the goddamn fucking shit that goes on in the Bible. So, yeah, you want to keep people Christian? Then, for Pete's sake, do not let them read the fucking Bible. Well, at Larky, to each his own. Hey, perps. So, yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say after that. I don't think I even need to say anything, do I? I mean, really, do I mean, yeah, I peppered my commentary throughout because that's what I do, you know. But I mean, really, do I need to say anything? Do I really need to say anything more? I mean, it was horrible even without my commentary. It was horrible even without my commentary. And it's to tell you the truth, it is just some boring ass shit, which is why I pepper it with commentary. Of course, this wasn't such boring ass shit. No, this was more like I don't know. I have no fucking clue what I just read. I mean, the Bible, obviously. But other than that, I have no fucking clue what I just read. This was one of the stories that really got me to thinking. And this is a story they tell you in church. Can you believe that? This is a fucking story that they actually think is good for people to hear. I don't have anything left to say. Marianne, yeah, it's getting better. But before I go, I want to say I know this is an odd time for me to be live streaming. Until I get over the shingles, I've just accepted that I'm going to be live streaming at odd times, just depending on when I'm up, because, I may be sleeping or whatever. And I mean, if I'm in a good sleep, where I'm not hurting, um, because the shingles hurt, god damn it. So, you know, um, so yeah, until I get over the shingles, I really have no idea, um, when I'm going to be live streaming. It's just whenever. Um, and even after singles, even after it it gets better, I will still be tired because I'll still be, you know, recovering. So, yeah. So I don't know. Now, the doctor did say it'll take about 6 weeks to clear up uh, from when I was diagnosed. So, and I was diagnosed earlier this month. I think like January 2nd, maybe. So, 6 months from then. Um, so, thank you for joining me for this absolutely idiotic stream of just nonsense. My apologies, Atlarky. I'm sorry, Marianne. There's a new strain out. Sorry about that, guys. There's a new strain out, so that's probably why, you know. So anyway, but yeah, so hit the like button, leave a comment. Um, and if you want to join the beautiful people on the bottom of my screen, uh, you can subscribe to my, or not subscribe, you can join my channel for as little as 99 cents a month. It really helps. I've been making big improvements, um, partially in thanks to these people, you know, but, you know, um, well, I mean, I'm just sorry because I know you believe this stuff. That's what I meant at Larky. Yes, Hans, and remember to share. So hit that like button, press the subscribe button if you haven't, and make sure you are subscribed because YouTube sometimes auto unsubscribes people for whatever reason. Uh, Share and comment because all of that helps the algorithm. And I will see you lovely people tomorrow for Atheist Church. Thank you, Atlarky. Have a wonderful day, people, and I will see you guys tomorrow for Atheist Church. Bye.